You fled. Why? Were you afraid?
I've never been afraid.
But you left at the very time mankind needed courage.
We offered the world order. We.
Excellent. Excellent.
Program complete. Enter when ready.
His name.
Yeah,
there is.
yeah.
And I don't even know if that's a meme or if that's real, but
No, it's real.
oh,
It's
okay,
real.
good.
Oh yeah. Eventually we'll get there. Eventually.
Yeah, I see that the movie that takes place is like years after this.
Oh yeah. The other thing that I've talked about, but I don't think you've seen yet, is this third episode deals with this of Strange New World season 2. This is what it deals with.
Oh, okay.
So it's like that's what changes everything.
Hmm.
Yeah. But that's
Yeah.
all right. I mean, what are you gonna do?
Nothing.
They like changing it. They want to keep talking about it and revisiting it because it's like the most popular thing that Star Trek has pretty much ever brought to the table.
Risk. Risk is our business.
Out there. That way.
What happened?
Starfleet was founded to seek out new life. Well, there it sits.
Rock and roll!
6.
We're not afraid of diversity. We don't persecute it, we embrace it.
At least I won't die alone.
Join our Federation of Planets.
And reach for the stars.
Those were the days.
Welcome back to another Trek review, where we discuss Star Trek Weekly. This week we are talking about the original series episode Space Seed. It originally aired February 16th, 1967. And it was a story written by Carrie Wilbur and made into a teleplay by Gene L. Kuhn. And it was directed by Mark Daniels. And Mark Daniels is a returning director. He had done The Man Trap, The Naked Time. He had done both Menageries. So, yeah. So the synopsis for Space Seed is the Enterprise discovers an ancient spaceship carrying genetically enhanced supermen from the late 20th century Earth and their enigmatic warlord leader, Khan Noonien Singh. So before we get into the breakdown of the full episode, let's ask Caleb, what did he think of the episode?
Yeah, so yeah, it was a good episode, honestly. It didn't have a lot of like cheesy stuff in it, and I thought it was cool to see like Khan for the first time. Because I'm like familiar with like Wrath of Khan and that kind of stuff, and obviously the in the Chris Pine universe, the Benedict version.
Yeah.
So it was cool to see, the original, honestly. I like Benedict because I have nothing to compare it to. But now
right.
I can understand why people aren't too like thrilled about that.
Yeah, I think honestly it has nothing to do with like acting. I think it just comes down to the fact that like in this episode he's I mean, here's the reality. Because this is the 60s. He is supposed to be a northern Indian. They specifically call him a Sikh in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
So he immediately is already this type of like ethnic cultural background.
Yeah.
And then they cast a Hispanic man, Ricardo Montalban, to play him. So it's like, so that's why I know that maybe back then he wasn't as popular as he is now. Maybe he was. I can't quite remember. But to me, I always felt like in that Chris Pine movie, if you had casted like Javier Bardem, it would have been like perfect.
Yeah, that would have been pretty good.
Just the same stuff that like Khan does in this episode to Kirk, where he just kind of stares at him and doesn't answer his questions and just kind of like sizes him up like constantly. He would have been great at it. I mean, he just would have been. I mean,
that's a good cast. Yeah.
Any reference would be like him in the James Bond movie. It just would be where he plays like that creepy mastermind, just ever so good.
Yeah. Yeah, you believe that he's a warlord.
Right. Yeah, sadly, I mean, nothing against I like J.J. Abrams a lot, and I think he's a smart guy. But sadly, like that it's just a lot of the Kathleen Kennedys of Star Trek had their hands in the pie like that early on in Star Trek. Like instead of going and making more content like 5 years. I think 5 years after Enterprise was canceled, they were like, oh, you know, it would be great is if we went and redid Kirk movies, but then did them the way we wanted to do them.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay. And I think what it was is, and you see it with Discovery, is they were fearful of not raking in like new people.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, we canceled Enterprise because of franchise fatigue and issues with UPN. But in 5 years, like the only way to get people to watch Star Trek is if they're brand new viewers.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, oh, okay. So,
yeah.
Okay. There's a lot of little background stuff here, which is kind of interesting. So, it says Space Seed writer Kerry Wilbur used the 18th century British custom of shipping out the undesirables as a parallel for his concept of seed ships, used to take unwanted criminals out to space from the overpopulated Earth, hence the name Botany Bay. In his original treatment, the Botany Bay left Earth in 2096 with 100 criminals, both men and women, and a team of a few volunteer lawmen aboard. Also, in his original writing, Khan's character was a Nordic Superman named Harold Eriksson. This evolved in the first draft, where the character first introduced himself as John Eriksson, but was later revealed to be Ragnar Thorwald, who had been involved in the First World Tyranny. Thorwald was more brutal in this version of the story, where he dispatched the guard outside his quarters with a phaser.
Nice.
But it says Gene Roddenberry questioned Carrie's notion of wasting high-tech spaceships and expensive resources on criminals, just as Kirk and Spock posed the same question. So Gene Roddenberry came up with the concept of a bunch of Napoleons sent out to space in exile.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
We have a guest star of Ricardo Montalban as Khan and Madeline Rue as Marla. So let's get into the teaser. In 2267, the USS Enterprise encounters a spacecraft floating deep in space, sending out a signal in Morse code. Captain Kirk recognizes it as being similar to the DY-500 class, but Spock points it out as being the much older DY-100 class, built back in the 1990s. This is like, I think before we get, really, really into everything, the only thing that like it just really bothers me, and it's so they still aren't not great in the series about it, but it just is like it's so painfully obvious, is all of them, even Uhura, are all of the women in this episode are like painfully written, like
Mhm.
to a point where it's like it's just so oversaturated with like
Yeah,
old way of thinking. Yeah,
over dramatic. Yeah,
it's just it's like they right here in the opening they have her turn around and like it's Morse code, and then Kirk's like, yeah, I know it's Morse code. Like he's immediately kind of like mean to her, and it just
yeah.
doesn't from that point forward. It never stops.
It doesn't pick up. Yeah,
Oh man, it was rough. And honestly, I think Mcgyver's is like the
she's
worst
pretty.
thing about this episode. And
Yeah,
not in
you'll see
this
when you get. You'll see when you get to my review list. Yeah,
and it's not it's not the fact of like her character. It's just like she's written to just be an
yeah,
awful dumb like she's dumb, she's stupid and gullible and overcome by Khan because she is a woman, and
yeah,
that's it.
yeah.
There's no
He,
other reason.
yeah, he brings like nothing to the table,
Right. He's
and
like,
he's like very abusive, and she's just like, oh, yeah, but he's a man from the 20th
right.
century. Cool, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's just like it's like they're all about they're advanced, they're beyond all this stuff there, right? They're
Yeah,
above all of
yeah,
these things that plague humanity in our time. And
yeah,
it's like, so wouldn't she be well aware that like this guy being abusive to her and being like awful, she would be like, well, like clearly you're a maniac and I'm going to not involve myself with you, and Kirk should know all about this.
yeah. No.
And to me, she doesn't serve anything, right? Like the whole point of it is to be he's so mesmerizing that he can convince her to turn on Kirk and the ship so
Yeah.
that at the end she can stand there aggressively in that briefing room
Mhm.
to just immediately turn on Khan and release Kirk from the chamber.
Yeah, it
Like
does nothing.
it did nothing.
No.
Yeah. So yeah, I just
Yeah, that whole thing to me was like the worst part of the episode.
yeah, it's yeah. Everything else about it is like super cool and fascinating, and I really like Ricardo. I like Khan in the episode.
Yeah.
He makes very specific acting decisions, and I really like it. But other than that, it's just like anything outside of like Khan's interactions with Kirk and Spock and like taking over the ship, it's like
Yeah. Yeah, it was like too much. Too
yeah.
much. Yeah, I felt
Yeah.
like that too.
Yeah, they go around, they're smacking her around, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
this doesn't feel right. No, it's just like
Well, yeah.
feels
Plus
like you're
like
doing it for the wrong reasons.
and plus like they're from the 90. Well,
Right.
yeah, so I mean they're from like an older timeline, so like they don't even understand why she's on the bridge to begin
Right.
with.
Right.
There's just this whole thing where it's like this doesn't need to be happening.
Yeah. Didn't see a lot of
That
African eugenics guys walking around, did you?
there was not. No.
No.
No. I think they're trying to say something. The
Yeah.
we'll get to it when we get there, but that honestly that scene where they're like smacking a horror around, she's
Yeah.
like she's so dramatic in that scene too.
Yeah,
And it just
yeah.
makes that whole thing just so much like weirder.
Yeah, it really does. It really does.
It was so weird. I've noticed that now, like as many episodes I've watched, that like she makes a lot of like really funny acting decisions.
It does. She does.
I was like, wow, she's really selling it.
Yeah, I know what part you're talking about. I'm not gonna say
Yeah.
it until
Oh
we
yeah.
get there,
Yeah.
but I know. Yeah.
I had to go back and rewatch it because I was like, did he hit her? Like, did he hit her again? Did like something happen? It's like, no.
Yeah. No, oh no.
Oh, okay.
No.
Gotcha.
It's the thing that always gets her to
Yeah.
make her cry and overreact. It's the
Yeah,
one.
but everybody was like that too towards the end of the episode where they're
Sure.
like, oh, you captains probably did, and everyone's like, no, kick. No. It's like, wow, this crew, I mean, they They are
Yeah.
100% on board with their captain. That's nice. That's nice to see. You know, you don't see
Not
that very
Spock, though.
fast.
Spock didn't care.
No, he's an emotionless robot.
Okay, Spock identifies the vessel from its outer hull markings as the SS Botany Bay, but finds no registry of the ship in the computer library. However, he points out that records of the era from which the ship was launched are fragmentary, as the 1990s was the era of the eugenics wars. A strange and violent period in your history, as Spock puts it. Faint life signs are detected on board, and Kirk has the ship go to red alert.
I like how Spock. He's always got to like tell them about their timeline.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, this was a weird timeline in your history. It's like, yeah, we know.
I think the joke is that Kirk never knows and Spock knows.
Well, Kirk didn't really study history in Starfleet, I don't think.
No. So the Botany Bay takes no action as the Enterprise approaches it, the only signal of life being the faint life readings. Now certain the ship is derelict, Kirk orders Scott and Dr. McCoy to join an engineering party to board the ship and investigate the life readings. Kirk also requests the services of the ship's historian, Lieutenant Marla Mcgyvers. In the transport room, Scott takes note of the life support systems coming back on, as if the ship is expecting them to transport over. Very interesting, Kirk notes. I don't know why Kirk doesn't know. Like, again, it's immediately like, well, she's a woman. I don't know why they wrote that scene for him to have no idea who she is. Like, he can't remember.
He has no idea. Like, he seems like the captain of the ship would know every member of his
exactly.
crew, you know?
And he acts like he never acts like that in any of the other episodes we've seen, where he's just like, I don't know who this person is.
No idea. I only pay attention to my helmswoman.
Right. I have a beautiful helmet.
Oh my god.
I don't know. It's kind of one of those funny things that, like, you know, and then it cuts to her in her thing in her quarters, like painting all these guys, and it's like, it's fine. That didn't bother me that she has all these images of old world leaders, like whatever.
She's a historian. That makes
exactly
sense. Yeah.
But it was just like,
the other funny thing about that scene too is that when they call on the loudspeaker, like, for her to go to the thing, she's like almost like mad about.
She is kind of mad about it. Yeah.
She's like, I just gotta like tape off like her apron.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
I was gonna say that you literally just wrote the scene that Kirk doesn't really know who you are, which then makes you as the audience believe this lady doesn't go and do anything. So when they're like, hey, report to the transport room, you would think that she would be like, oh, nice, I'm finally getting to do something, instead of being in my room and paint.
Yeah. My weird skill in this one thing is finally gonna pay off. It's like, nah, that's all she wants to do is like paint. It's like,
yeah,
it's a weird role to be like on a Federation ship and you don't do anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't. Yeah.
That was funny.
Yeah. But we get to see two things here. Right before they beam down, we get to see Transporter Chief Kyle from Strange New Worlds. The guy that's all Pike is always like, take me down. Right? He's like a young kid. And it's the only time he shows up in Star Trek.
Yay! Is that the same kid that got taken like at gunpoint?
Yeah, he's also the same kid that gets shoved, and the bulkhead doors closed, and he watches the guy get sucked out into space.
Oh, nice!
It's the same kid on the one where they have the pin, the one where they have the pins on the Gorner attacking him.
Cool.
Yeah. But the cool thing that we never know about, you didn't know about Transporter Chief Kyle?
Yeah.
He can mimic Scotty's hands when he's beaming out. When they're beaming away, he can also be Scotty and push the things up. It's amazing.
What What a skill.
What a skill.
The hand model, huh?
Beautiful.
The other funny thing too was like the very beginning, Kirk was like, he's like, okay, Bones,
Oh, yeah.
if you want to see, what's going on down there. And he's
Yeah.
like, do I have an option? There's
Nope.
like, no. So it's just
Yeah.
like this weird thing where it was like, okay, why did you phrase it like that? And then also like, why does he not want to go down there and see?
Yeah.
It was like this weird, I don't know. It was just kind of, it was funny.
It totally was strange because it's a thing that, like, going forward, McCoy, like, hating the transporter and hating, like, anything
Right.
that's kind of like that is like, oh yeah, like that is a firmly established thing. But like,
Yeah.
I think in the episodes we've watched, I think he makes one other comment about the transporter that he like doesn't really like it, and that's kind of it. But yeah, it is totally weird for him to be like, for him for that first time to just be like, yeah, you really want me to go and do this? And then Kirk's like, yes, I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. You're the doctor. It was funny too how he's like, oh yeah, it couldn't possibly be human.
Yeah.
It's too, the heartbeat is too low, and
too low.
it's like, so they've never heard of stasis ever. Never heard of stasis.
No, impossible.
Yeah, that's a scientific anomaly, and that's why I don't want to go.
Yeah, they're like, oh, what an interesting design. That ship's from the 1990s from Earth. And they're like, well, an alien could have an old Earth ship. And you're like, oh, okay. They're like, yeah. And then they're like, well, it's low heartbeats. And it's just like, oh. Yeah, well, we're not going to look into cryostasis or anything like that. We're not going to really pose why it's a 90s ship, but whatever. No way it's humans. No way it's humans.
Yeah, I just would love to do an episode of something like this where you're like, wow, yeah, that's weird. Isn't that weird? And then you're like, yeah, well, anyway. Warp 2.
Yeah.
Warp Factor 2. Hit it.
There it is. An old Earth vessel similar to the DY-500 class.
Much older. DY-100 class to be exact.
That's weird. Isn't that weird?
The landing party materializes on board the Botany Bay, and Scott confirms that the vessel is Terran in origin, using old-style atomic power and computers with transistor units. He tells Kirk that he would love to get to tear this baby apart. Mcgyver speculates that the ship is a sleeper ship designed for long periods of interplanetary travel, due to the limits of space travel technology in that era until the year 2018.
That's not funny.
Yeah, they're like, that's like that's
It's
such
so,
a far time.
It's so funny that because it's like I was watching this episode and I was like, oh my god, this show is so old. Because back then they were writing this and they're like, oh, let's pick like a crazy number. And they're like, oh, 2018, that might as well be 3,000 years from now,
right?
It's like, oh yeah, so that was like 7-8 years ago for us.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's honestly, it's such a proof that the space race was just a political move by the United States, because here in the mid to late 60s, it was like, well, they're building all these things and going to space constantly and trying to get a man on the moon, so that before Russia, and it's like, we got to do it. Russia's beating us in every way, and then the second they get a man on the moon, that's it. That was it. They're done.
Yeah, no idea. Now what? I don't know.
Right. They're like, yeah, well, we did it. We beat Russia to the moon, so we won.
What's up here? Nothing.
And so 1970 forward, like nobody cares about. They don't care about space travel and space exploration and going to the next thing. And it's like, yeah, we always talk, in our society, they always talk about going to Mars, but it's all privately funded stuff. Like the government doesn't care about it anymore.
Yeah, that is true.
So now you think about being a 1967 writer, and you're living during the space race, and they're talking about putting a man on the moon. So you think to yourself, well, in 30 years, we'll
Yeah.
have sleeper ships. And then in another, like 25 years, we're going to go beyond our solar system. I mean, this, if in like 10, 5 to 10 years, we built rockets to put a man on the moon,
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Yeah,
imagine
back
what
then.
50 something years is going to be like for space travel. But little did they
Yeah,
know the government wasn't going to care about it in like 2 years. They had no idea.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
think
that's true.
that's where a lot of it comes from, because they're just like 2018. I mean, almost 60 years of space travel. I mean, we're gonna be doing anything, going anywhere. I thought about you more so than your any of your engineering, your Clark character from the RPG, when Scotty gets over to he's on the wall, he's looking at stuff, and then he's just like, "Oh, look at all this." And he's
Yeah.
like, I think these things are called transistor units. And he's like, "Oh, I'd love to open this thing up." And I was just thinking, like, you in real life, like, if that was you on a spaceship and you got to see something from like 200 years ago, you'd be like, "Oh man, I want to look at everything on the inside of this thing."
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, just like when we were building the Enterprise like communicator like door like buttons.
Oh
I
yeah.
took apart all those like old keyboards to get like
Oh
switches.
yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, look at the inside of this keyboard.
Yeah. Yeah. Never allowed to dismantle your keyboards at home.
No,
So
God, no. God, no. And then when I realized that like they're basically just momentary switches. So like
yeah.
when you push it down, it makes contact. So like you literally can like just use them for like wiring lights and stuff.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I was like, oh my God.
One of the life units is then activated, and Kirk asks Mcgyver's if this could be the leader. The lieutenant does not reply immediately, seemingly smitten with the appearance of the man, but eventually answers that it's likely, as the leader would be awakened first to determine if circumstances warranted the reviving of the others. She also speculates that the man could be a Sikh from the northern region of India, noting that they were the most fantastic warriors. Scott then reports that there are 84 people held in suspended animation, all of varied ethnic origins.
Yeah.
All of the stuff that's happening, I am super into. And sadly, the way she's written, it just makes it 1,000 times worse. Because it's super fascinating that the ship starts to turn on before they even get over there, which it's like, I wonder why. Like, what's the background with that?
Yeah.
Why would the people of the 90s be like, well, if the ship comes close to something, like activate, like take them out of suspended animation? Just all that kind of stuff. And then, knowing, I'm sure you did at this point too, but like knowing that this is Khan, that
Yeah.
like it's like you're thinking of this like literal historical moment of television entertainment. Like this is the introduction of this character who is like just as famous as like Darth Vader
Yeah,
kind of
right.
thing. So it was like I really like all that, but then it's like it cuts to her and she's just like, you're just like, oh, okay.
Oh
Like,
my God, he's so hot.
yeah, like, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true. Yeah, that's true.
Uh,
She's like, oh, so you're saying there's 80 more? Huh? Interesting.
oh,
Oh, Fascinating. And then later on, when it's like revealed that she was like starting a new painting and using Khan's face,
Oh
it
yeah.
was like it was supposed to be such this like taboo like
Oh
thing.
yeah.
Oh, it was so funny.
Mm.
She was like so embarrassed, but oh my god, I was laughing
Yeah,
so
it was
hard.
like finding her diary. They acted like she was a 14-year-old girl and Khan had found her diary. And he was like, and she was like, I held his hand today. And he was like,
Oh,
oh,
oh.
oh,
He
excellent.
was wearing a mesh top, and I could see his skin.
Yeah. I could see his feet and his skin
Yeah.
and his chest, his bulging chest. The life support unit malfunctions, likely due to the accumulation of dust in a sealed compartment. I added that part. And its
Yeah.
occupant's life readings begin dropping. As Mcgyver begs Kirk to save him, he breaks the glass on the stasis unit to release him. Taking shaky breaths as he regains consciousness, the man asks in a hoarse whisper how long he has been asleep. Kirk estimates the time at 2 centuries. Kirk flips his communicator open to request that McCoy and the man be beamed aboard the Enterprise immediately for further medical attention. Magnificent, McGyver states.
McGruber.
McGruber. I specifically looked, and when Kirk breaks the plexiglass or whatever that was, like the
Yeah.
sugar glass, there's all of this like broken glass, like on the other side of Montalban's like legs and like on his legs.
Yeah.
And I was
So
just
they've
like,
done it a few times.
yeah,
You know what's funny is I was like, okay, this is gonna be so like cheesy. It's supposed to be this like sealed, pressurized thing, and then he
oh
breaks
yeah,
the glass and he reaches up there and he like undoes the latch
yeah, because he
and then he
knows where
like
it is.
yeah, and then he flops it down and it comes down like a cabinet.
Yes,
I
yes.
was like, oh my god! But then the table slides out, because I'm picturing two guys in the back going.
Oh, absolutely,
But the
absolutely.
fact that that table like slid out, I was like,
Oh
okay,
yeah,
I
all
can
right,
accept that. I can accept that as a
yeah,
piece of technology.
yeah. McCoy is conducting a medical analysis on the unidentified man at sickbay on the Enterprise. McCoy is amazed at the physical and recuperative power of the man. Aboard the Botany Bay, Scott notes that 12 of the life units had failed and that their occupants have consequently died, leaving 72 alive from the 1990s, 30 of the survivors being women. Spock can find no record in the vessel in any of the computer libraries. Kirk suspects that since Botany Bay was the name of an Australian penal colony, this might have been a way to deport criminals. So that was another thing to harp on is
Yeah.
that Scotty is like, oh yeah, so 12 of them didn't make it. Like, okay. And he's like, yeah, but the 70 other two are far stable. And just to want to let you know, Captain, 30 of them are women. Just want
Yep.
to let you know that.
Just in case you wanted to wake those up first
Right. Like,
for, science.
yeah. Like,
Which makes it
it's
even
just,
weirder too when like Khan is like fixed eyes, he gets like hyper fixated on McGruber.
yeah,
It's like, oh, woman. And
excellent.
it's like you have like 30 on your ship, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
Who are
like, like
powerful
he's
and
it's not
right.
like, oh, in my time, all the women have been eradicated. It's
Mm-hmm.
like that's how we acted. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
that's not what happened.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. Spock refutes this as it would be a seeming waste of Earth's then most advanced spaceship, but has no other explanation of his own, lacking sufficient facts. Spock also notes the extreme low probability that a vessel of this type could have survived for so long and managed to leave Earth's solar system. Kirk orders Lieutenant Spinelli to have the Botany Bay put under tow and set course to Starbase 12. Insufficient facts always invites danger, Captain. In sickbay, Kirk arrives to speak to the man. McCoy notes his superior bodily strength and efficiency of his lungs, hinting at his augment origin. McCoy estimates that the man could lift both he and Kirk with one arm. He tells Kirk that it would be interesting to see if the man's brain matches his body. Mcgyver arrives while Kirk chides her on her performance on the landing party. She admits to finding the man fascinating in a purely professional way, as her position aboard the Enterprise is historian. Kirk thanks her for admitting this, noting, "If I can have honesty, it's easier to overlook mistakes," then dismisses her.
Yeah, I didn't understand this scene at all.
Yeah, me either.
Like, what is he even talking about? He's talking to her like they're on a mission and she like froze up and like didn't,
Right.
somebody could have gotten killed.
I think it's I think what they're trying to say or like get at is that she, when he's like what do we think about this guy? Like, do you think it's the leader? And she just stared at him for an extra 5 seconds. And then he was like, "Hello, is this the leader?" And she was like, "Oh, yes." To Kirk, that was like, "Well, that's it. Like, you're an idiot." And I
Never
think
taking a woman again.
yeah. I just, yeah. I'm not gonna get onto it. It just was another scene. I was just like, why? Like, why? Why does this have to be a thing? Later, the man awakes from his slumber and goes through some exercises. Then, hearing Dr. McCoy at work, the man notes a scalpel among a collection of antique medical instruments on the wall. He takes it and moves back to his bed, feigning sleep. McCoy arrives to check his vital signs, and the man reaches towards McCoy's throat, threatening him with the scalpel. McCoy sarcastically and in an admirable display of calm tells him to make up his mind to choke him or cut his throat, adding that it would be best if he would cut the carotid artery just under the left ear. The man says he admires such bravery and lets McCoy take back the scalpel. McCoy simply and calmly tells him that he was just trying to avoid an argument. The man demands to speak to the captain of the vessel, and McCoy calls Kirk, saying he is a man with many questions.
I like this. I like the scene. I like seeing
Yeah,
McCoy
McCoy
kind of like fearless. Yeah.
he's just like, listen, if you're gonna do it,
Yeah.
just do it. Like,
I already had to use the transporter today. Just go ahead and end it. And I think
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's such a great combination of the fact of like McCoy has such confidence in like medical that he probably is like, well, even if he does slip me as throat, like I'll probably live. And two, I think also like he just legitimately doesn't care. Like whatever, man. Like if you're gonna kill me, just kill me. Like
It almost seemed like he's like, hey, so don't screw this up. Like, I don't want to have surgery from this. So just like the carotid artery is like right here. Just make sure you get that because
yeah.
I don't want to have a feeding tube. I don't want to have a feeding tube for a couple months. Let's just get this over with. Wrap it up. Wrap it up.
Yeah. So the funny thing is they have the display of old medical technology, like tools on the wall.
Oh, yeah.
And it is the only time this shows up in Star Trek that he has this thing on the wall. And it's very, very, very obvious that it's only on the wall because, he had to have a knife.
Yeah, right.
Because otherwise it'd have to be like, you'd have to explain, how does this guy know that this is a phaser or that this thing is, a laser cutter or whatever? Like, how would he know? So they're like, well, he has to get a blade. It's like, yeah, but McCoy doesn't use blades in his sick bay. So how does he know?
Yeah,
So
they don't use that stuff in the future.
Right. So it's like, well, he has to get a blade. So He'll just he just likes old technology. And on the tour they talk about it like it was a reminder to McCoy that like basically
Yeah, it's like the forceps
that
from like World War One, and
yeah, of like how barbaric old humanity.
He is.
yeah, it's pretty funny.
When Khan awakes, he's like, I tire of talking to you, Doctor. I just bring me the captain. I have many questions for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had two.
Yeah.
How long has it been? And where are we going?
Also, can I have books specifically?
Yeah. Hey, can I have complete and utter access to your ship logs?
You got it.
And I just love too how like he's like this main character, like figure in their timeline, and it's like the obviously he used his full name,
right?
And now he's just going by Khan, and it's like,
yeah, it's not like his name was like Jeff or something, right? Like,
nobody was like, hey, wasn't there like a famous dictator named Coniferous? It's like, yeah, probably not too many people with the same.
Yeah. No. Also, Spock should have been like, let me call up my friend from when I served under Captain Pike, and I'll call up La'an Noonien saying,
oh, yeah. Wow. Yeah, I never even put that together. Is that?
Yeah. That's what she's talking about when she says that her great grandfather is like she got bullied in school because of her name, and why she's called Augment and all that stuff, whatever she was called in that episode. Yeah, she's a descendant of Khan.
Okay, yeah, I never picked up on that because I never knew his full name until this episode.
Yeah, right
there.
So there you go. You've been watching Khan's whatever, like great granddaughter.
Excellent.
Kirk arrives, identifies himself as the captain, and asks the man his name. The man avoids the question and asks what the ship's heading is. Kirk answers that it is Starbase 12, a planet in the Gamma 400 star system, the Enterprise command base in that sector. The man identifies himself simply as Khan. Kirk attempts to question Khan further, but he declines to elaborate on his history, claiming he is fatigued. He says that he was once an engineer of sorts and would very much like to study the ship's technical manuals. Kirk and McCoy then show him how to use the computers to access such information. He is later visited by Mcgyver's, asking her to sit and entertain him, rearranging her hairstyle to something more attractive.
This was a good scene, yeah.
So, like you said, the whole Kirk thing happens, and he's like, and you can tell that Kirk is like sort of aware that this guy is, I don't know, just like there's something different about him. But then he's like, oh, you know what? I don't want to talk about it. And yeah, I'm not going to answer that. I'm not going to answer that. I'm not going to answer that. Here's my name. I'm only going to give you part of my name. And you know what? You're asking a lot of questions. I'm real sleepy. I'm real tired. And then Kirk is just like, oh. And then McCoy's like, yeah, he's exhausted. Look at him. He's exhausted. He's like, well, but before you go, could I have every single blueprint of the ship? Just need that for a little bit to read. And Kirk's just like, yeah, sure. Then the historian lady comes in. She talks to him, and then she starts asking the same questions, and he's like, I don't want to talk about that, but why do you wear your hair like an idiot? Let's take 3 or 4 bobby pins out and have like 3 or 4.
It looks so stupid after too.
It's stupid.
Oh, so bad. He took 3 bobby pins out, so she had like it was like longer in the back, like a mullet. And he's like, "That's better. That's better. That's better." Wow, this guy is sick. This guy. Something's going on with this guy. Why do you wear your hair like a fool?
Like an absolute fool. You must let only 3 curls dangle from the back of your head.
So this
beautiful.
Their relationship in this episode, it was, to me, it's
The
Fist
freaking
of
Cops
Fury
episode. Yeah, go ahead.
No, it's Fist of Fury. It's like,
Oh.
no,
Yeah.
no.
I know
I
what
don't
you're
want you
talking
to
about.
think
Yeah.
No. Chosen one.
Yeah. Oh.
No. Yes, no, I love you, Chosen one. But no, I can't do it, Chosen one. No. That's what this episode is.
It really was.
Yeah. I don't want you to see me cry like this, Chosen one. Oh my God.
Oh man. That's
especially the part
one.
where, especially the part in this episode later on when he like hits her and he's like, then just leave, and she's on the floor. She's like, I don't want to leave. I don't want to, please.
Oh, wee
Take me back, Chosen one, take me.
In the officers' mess, the crew prepares a full dress banquet, and McCoy wonders if the Enterprise is hosting a fleet admiral. Kirk replies it was Mcgyver's idea to welcome Khan to their century. Dressed for the occasion, Khan meets with Mcgyver's inner quarters, decorated with portraits of great conquerors of the past, including Richard the Lionheart, Leif Erikson, Alexander the Great, and Napoleon Bonaparte, as well as an unfinished portrait of Khan in the 20th century. Khan tells her he is honored, but cautions her such men dare take what they want, before passionately kissing her, which she apparently doesn't mind.
Oh, yes. I'm flattered that you painted me.
Nice.
But all these men stole kisses.
Yes. I see that you like powerful world leaders.
Oh, yeah.
I just want to let you know they all loved kissing.
Yeah.
Gosh, it doesn't make any sense why he would care about this lady at all.
No, not at all.
It would make so much more sense for him to just like not brainwash, but like trick Kirk into letting things happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, well, yeah, no, all these things. Like, hey, my name is Thomas Ranger, and I need all the help, and can you help me do all the stuff? And I need friends, and wake all my friends up, and
yeah.
I mean, basically, for all the things wrong about Into Darkness, the thing they got right was getting rid of the Mcgyver's character in the movie and just having Kirk and Khan go back and forth with each other, you know?
Yeah.
And they make Khan like he tricks him, right? He tricks Kirk into doing all this stuff. When they get up on the bridge, he like beats up Kirk and then he's like, now I'm going to kill you all, you know? Yeah, it's just that kind of stuff. It makes so much more sense. Okay. At the banquet, Khan explains the nature of his journey from Earth, going in search of adventure, believing there was nothing left on Earth. Spock comments on the eugenics wars as a conflict to end tyranny, while Khan replies that it was an effort to unite humanity, calling his era a time of great dreams, great aspirations. While there were dozens of petty dictatorships, Khan declares one would have ruled eventually, like Rome under Caesar. Think of its accomplishments, he intones. Kirk bluntly asks why Khan fled, asking if he was afraid, goading Khan to declare, we offered the world order, to which Kirk responds by asking, we? Noting Khan's reference to a master race. Khan congratulates Kirk on the discovery of Khan's intent. Then he says he is fatigued again and returns to his quarters.
Feeling very tired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like you gotta be an absolute idiot if you think they're like Oh, it sounds like you're talking about master race things and you're trying to take over the world. He's just like, oh, I'm so sleepy. I'm so sleepy. I gotta get to bed.
Yeah.
So McGyver appears at Khan's quarters and apologizes for how he was treated at the dinner. Khan comments their reaction is understandable, given that he is something of a mystery to them. McGyver confesses that she knows exactly who he is and wonders if he is going to like living in her century, to which Khan replies that he will have to remold it to his liking. Showing the darker side of his nature, Khan tells McGyver he intends to take control of the Enterprise and demands her help, bullying her into submitting to his desire. Unwilling to lose him, she promises to do anything he asks. So probably the worst scene of the episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really bad.
Yeah, I'm just gonna move on from it because it just is a terrible scene for so many different reasons, and we've already gone at great lengths of how miserable it is that they go about and
Yeah.
all this stuff. So, but we're at the halfway point, so go down to the comment section and write Udar. Remember Udar from Enterprise?
Mm-hmm.
One of the augments who didn't have genetically enhanced abilities, and they picked on him.
Yeah.
Get some love for Udar down in the comments. In the briefing room, Kirk, Spock, McCoy, and Scott consult the historical records and determine that their guest is Khan Noonien Singh, one of the genetically engineered tyrants of the eugenics wars, and the last to be overthrown. From 1992 to 1996, he was an absolute ruler of 1/4 of the Earth, from Asia to the Middle East. Scott admits he's always held a sneaking admiration for this one, with Kirk and McCoy adding that his rule lacked the usual massacres and internal wars endemic to tyrants. Spock counters that he also severely curtailed freedoms and is alarmed at the romantic tone of the humans towards a ruthless dictator. Kirk replies that they can be against him and admire him all at the same time. Illogical, Spock says. Totally, Kirk responds. The captain then orders security to place a 24-hour guard on Khan's quarters, effective immediately. I don't know if you and I can speak to it, but like excluding the stuff with McGyver's how Khan acts, right?
Yeah.
Would any part of you, like you as Caleb, would you be enthralled with him?
Mm. Yeah, I don't know. Probably not.
Yeah, I just
It's
like I
it's almost in a way of like sitting and talking about like Hitler
right.
and saying like, yeah, he wasn't a good guy, but his tactics were good.
Right.
Like he got stuff done. It was like that's kind of weird to say that.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like I know there's that meme of like men constantly think about the Roman Empire thing,
Hmm.
and it's like okay, but I don't know. I when he was like, well, we can not we can be against him and admire him all at the same time, and it's like as a guy, I don't think that I've ever once thought like
Yeah.
if I got to talk to Alexander the Great or Napoleon or Julius Caesar, that I would be like, oh man, this guy's awful. But
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think so.
let me talk about how well he ran his empire. I'd be like, this guy's a lunatic.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that was kind of weird.
Yeah. Later, Kirk visits Khan in his quarters, who is wearing a red Starfleet uniform, like that worn by the ship's engineers or security guards, and, lost in thought, commenting on his door being locked from outside with a guard posted. Kirk admits it was unusual treatment for who he is and wishes to know the truth about his departure from Earth. Kirk replies that he and his followers saw a new life and a chance to build a new world, plus other things he did not believe Kirk, who he considered mentally and physically inferior, would understand. He comments on how little mankind has changed despite its technical advancements, and that he and his people would do well in this century. After Kirk leaves, Khan breaks out of his quarters by forcing the sliding door open with his bare hands, and then brutally knocks out the guard outside, taking his phaser. Meanwhile, Mcgyver's holds Transporter Chief Kyle at phaser point, beaming Kyle over to the Botany Bay to revive his people. All the Kirk Khan stuff is like great. When Kirk comes in and asks Khan all the questions, and then Khan says a couple things, and Kirk's like, "Yep, I don't need to know anything else. You've answered all of my possible questions." I was like,
Yeah.
excellent.
Yeah, I did really like that scene. And I like too how it keeps kind of going back and forth. Like you think that Kirk has the upper hand,
Yeah,
but then you kind of slowly start to realize that okay, yeah, no. Khan had
Yeah.
manipulated the thing from the very beginning.
right. The thing I thought about was, despite the fact that the doors are mechanisms and gears and stuff of that nature, my part of my brain was like, is it possible for him to rip open the door, or is it just like a weird thing that they just want to happen in the episode?
Yeah,
Because they
I
don't
don't
really
know.
get into how the doors are. Because you would think they're not just like little tracks on a thing. It seems like they're almost like bulkheads where they can seal off like a
They
section of the
seal.
ship. Right. And it's like,
Yeah.
but it's okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
That's
don't want to.
interesting.
I don't want to do the thing that I've made Adrian laugh about, where he's like, not to push my glasses up, but I'm like, in episodes, Spock says no. So
Yeah. The
yeah,
the doors are actually pressurized bulkheads.
right, exactly.
It would take exactly 625 kilotons of force to open the
Right.
door, and therefore Khan would have to be
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
But then even at the end when he has all his other augment buddies
Yeah,
on the ship, they're just like, well, I guess we're done now
yeah,
because they have two phasers pointed at us, so
yeah. That's
it's
it.
over. It's over. They beat us.
All I could think about when we get to the scene, I literally thought about you going, wrap it up, wrap it, because it was like, this is it. This is not an hour and a half long episode.
Yeah.
We got 5 more minutes, buddy. Wrap it up.
End it cleanly. Let's go.
Security alerts Kirk that Khan has escaped. Shortly afterwards, communications become jammed, the turbo lifts disabled, and life support on the bridge cut off. Kirk calls engineering to find out why and is answered by Khan, who now controls engineering with his followers and has cut off life support, demanding that Kirk surrender the ship to him or die of suffocation. So I'm just going to say it quick, and then we can laugh about it and move on. Another terrible example was Khan goes over to the Botany Bay, and all of his buddies are doing the same breathing, stretching things, but they're all in the nice new red jumpsuits that Khan has on, but not the ladies. They're in every single woman in this scene. Even in the far background had the weird mesh bikini thing on.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you couldn't put at least one of them in the red jumper.
No.
Are you kidding me? It was stupid.
You'd have to make a whole jumper for that.
But I did like that Kirk is just like, nah, and just basically passes out on the bridge. He's just like, that's okay. Not gonna give me the shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I did like that. Right in the middle of his monologue,
Yeah.
We were talking last week too about how, him and Spock have tendonitis from recording the show. And I really have been watching, and he lands on his knees pretty hard on that platform before he falls to I'm like, man, God, he just takes a beating every episode.
He really does. He really, really does. He gave it all. He gave it his everything.
Sure did.
The bridge crew suffocates to the point of passing out. Kirk and Spock are the last to fall unconscious. Before passing out, Kirk, making a log entry, as you noted last week, states he takes full responsibility for Khan taking over his ship. When the crew awakens, they are being held at phaser point by Khan's men in the briefing room while Khan holds Kirk captive in McCoy's decompression chamber. And the rest of the bridge crew in the briefing room, who watch helplessly as the video screen shows Kirk suffocating.
Oh no.
Yeah, I was just thinking of you because I was editing that thing and remembering a lot of you saying, like, why is there a log of this? And it's like, well, because Kirk recorded it. It's just like, oh god, I should probably save my oxygen and try to fight to the dry last breath that I have. Like, but I'll probably make a long log. That'll probably.
He just needs, he needs people to hear him. He needs people to hear his logs. Like,
it's like you would think, I don't have any oxygen. You would just be like, Khan has the ship. Recommendations for the bridge crew. We're going to try to last as long as we can. And that's it. Like, that's all he had to say.
Trying to hold my breath as long as I can. But it's just like, oh man. Yeah, just shut up, Kirk. Just shut up. It's almost like they
survive another minute. But go ahead.
Yeah. It's almost like they think the audience is like really stupid. So it's almost like they use Kirk's logs for like after a commercial break to like recap like what's been going on.
But like, oh,
that's right. Yeah, Khan's getting rid of all the oxygen in the room. I forgot about that when I got up to get my popcorn.
Yeah. But like, I didn't watch the other 45 minutes of this. I wonder what's happening.
Yeah, I just got here. What's going on?
Oh, well. I'm not going to tell you. Man. Kirk's going to tell you right now when it comes back from commercial.
I bet the beginning of this was very good. So this is also the scene, too, because after they show on the monitor what's going on.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they smack her around, make her, like...
Oh, yeah.
Make her open the channel.
Yeah. She won't do it.
She hates it.
This is it right here. Khan threatens to kill the captain unless the bridge crew cooperates with the augments. None of the captive crew agree to join him, and Khan becomes infuriated by their resistance, threatening them all with suffocation. Mcgyver then excuses herself, unable to watch the torture of Kirk and the brutal way that Joaquin, one of Khan's henchmen, treats Uhura, violently striking her across the face. As Khan continues to rage, the video screen goes blank as the channel to the decompression chamber is unexpectedly cut. Joaquin demands of Uhura how to regain the picture, but she refuses to respond, and he prepares to strike her once again. Khan stops Joaquin with a gesture, telling the crew that Kirk is dead and Spock will be taken in to die next. Yeah, so this is the scene, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
sure is.
Yes, it is.
It sure is. Yeah. So, like I said, I rewound this like 3 times to see like what exactly happened because she's like sitting there on the computer.
Yeah,
and then the guy's like about to like hit her again, and she's like flinches, like, no, don't even worry about it. Captain Kirk is already dead, and she goes,
yeah.
I was like, did she get hit? Like, I was so confused.
Yeah.
I was so confused. She like slumps over like she just got like punched in the back.
Yeah.
So on the third time, I was like, oh, she's sad.
She's sad because Kirk is dead.
I like too how like they were so confused why the video feed went out the same time that Mcgyver walked out.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I don't have to stand here and watch this.
He's like, that's
she strange. Like as soon as she leaves, they're like, hey, the feed cut. That's weird.
Like, well, Kirk's dead.
Anyway, carry on.
Yeah.
If any one of you joins me, then I will release the captain.
He's dead. So now Spock has to go in there. And Spock's just like, whatever.
Yeah, I don't care.
Meanwhile, Mcgyver comes to Kirk's aid by using a hypo spray to knock out the guard who was watching him in the decompression chamber. She frees Kirk from the chamber and urges him not to hurt Khan. Spock and an augment arrive just then. Kirk surprises and confronts Khan's man, who is subsequently incapacitated by Spock using a Vulcan nerve pinch.
I like that. That was pretty good.
Yeah. I honestly really like William Shatner's acting when he comes out of the chamber like that, trying to catch his breath, and he's like tired
staggering.
Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah. I know. Even then she's like, hey, I let you out, but don't hurt him.
Don't hurt him.
At least don't shoot his beautiful face.
Yeah.
That's all I ask.
I think Kirk should have just gone, and he's going like, wait, just be quiet, be quiet. Instead of doing that, he's just been like, phaser.
Yeah.
and then just
stunned.
Yeah, you can't shoot ladies. That's inappropriate for the 60s.
No. Yeah, that's bad. I do like that scene where Kirk is struggling with the guy with the phaser. And Spock just kind of leans over and just is like, he's out.
Yep.
It's one of those things that it could get overused, but I feel they don't overuse it,
They have to write it in such a way where it makes sense, why he uses it and why he doesn't use it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like his last resort, honestly.
Right. In the briefing room, Khan realizes something is wrong when he cannot contact his men, specifically Rodriguez, Ling, and McPherson. Kirk and Spock then succeed in flooding the ship with knockout gas, but Khan is able to avoid the gas by escaping to engineering and cutting it off, rigging the ship to blow up with an overload. Kirk rushes to stop Khan with a phaser, but Khan ambushes the captain and crushes the phaser with his bare hands, as easily as one would crumple a piece of paper. The two men come to blows in engineering, and Kirk eventually defeating the genetically engineered man by knocking him out with a makeshift club and saving the Enterprise from destruction. A great scene, but also probably one of the weaker, the second weakest scene is them going hand in hand. Because it's fine, all the context of him opening the door with his bare hands and McCoy saying all the stuff that he's more physically fit and all this stuff. But then he comes to the door and he crushes the phaser, which is cool. I think it looked like it was made out of clay maybe or something. I don't really know, but
yeah.
Which is a cool scene, but then immediately Kirk is holding his own and you're just this doesn't make any sense. It's to me it would have made more sense. I don't know if he did something he pushes him into something and he's using parts of the ship currents and he's opening up panels. Kirk is electrocuting Khan with electrical panels or wires from the ship or something. The only way to really stop him is to use crazy intense means that would kill a normal person, but is only rendering Khan it's just weakening Khan type of thing.
Yeah that's true.
When you I've never played the game, but I know you have. It's when your character I can't think of his name from the Star Wars game is fighting Darth Vader in the first game.
Yeah,
it's he can't take him direct on because he's weaker, so he has to do all these things throw things at him and cut the legs out of the support beams of walkways and stuff. The only way you're going to get away from him is doing stuff that's just going to slow him down type of thing.
Yeah, it's more of an environmental battle than hand-to-hand combat. It's just you're not going to.
Yeah, exactly. And I get it. It's a 60s show. You can't have the captain be a weakling. Otherwise, what's the point of the show? I get it. You can't have Kirk look bad, but it just doesn't make any sense.
But, the other thing is that, he just fought a Gorn last week.
That's true.
So now he knows how to handle. He knows how to handle a stronger opponent.
True. The thing that did make me laugh, I don't know if you laughed at it, was when Kirk gets that magical tube out of the console.
That's a
and
good,
then
yeah.
he hits Khan with it. Khan's like, ooh. And then Kirk's like, and another one, and another one, and another one. And I was just like, wow.
Yeah. Well, right before that,
Yeah.
Khan's like, I'm too strong. You'll never defeat me. You'll never do anything. And Kirk just like hits him a couple times. He's like, oh, and he's on the ground, like you're saying.
Yeah.
That was pretty funny.
It is pretty funny. To go along with what you were saying was him hitting him with the club thing, the whatever that piece thing was. It reminded me of just like when somebody like you and I filming something silly or doing something silly, and it's the thing where it's just like you're not really hitting the person. So it's like Shatner's doing this thing where he's like hitting him, and then Khan is like, oh, 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 like, and it's just like he's just coming over the top of him, and it's just like these two actions don't meet each other. Like,
yeah,
it's clearly fake.
Yep.
Here is the finale. Later, at a formal hearing, Kirk drops all charges against Khan and his people, considering it a waste to put Khan in a penal colony, and gives him the offer of taming the uninhabited world of Ceti Alpha 5. An offer which Khan accepts, referencing a quote from Milton's Paradise Lost, that it is better to rule in hell than to serve in heaven. Marla Mcgyver is given the option of court-martial or accompanying Khan and his people. Khan warns her it will be difficult at first to survive, to find food, and Marla chooses to join Khan and his people. As soon as Khan and his people leave, Kirk and Spock express an interest in returning to Ceti Alpha 5 in 100 years to learn what crop will sprout from the seed they planted.
A bad one.
A bad one. Perhaps a genetically altered seed. Meh. Yeah.
So even at the end, she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to that planet."
Yeah, it makes total sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see what's wrong with it.
If she flips on Kirk, and then she flips on Khan, then flips on Kirk again. It's just like I don't know
She's
what I
a
want. I'm a
double.
lady.
She's a double agent.
Yep. But this obviously is a big famous episode because of what it leads to. So
Yeah.
it's sadly one of the few Star Trek episodes that's like incredibly important to watch because it actually matters and it touches on a lot of stuff that, like you said, that they constantly talk about in Star Trek. So you can't like skip this one. But also it's like one of the more like just ones that didn't age well kind of episodes. Like between the sexism and just some of the like decisions that they make with like physically fighting Khan. It's just like it just doesn't.
Yeah.
Play. But that is okay.
It is what it is. It's aged,
Yeah, it is what it is, exactly. Yep. So before we wrap it up, let's do the thing that everyone's waited for.
Caleb.
I've already started painting him.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to see. Oh, that would have been the best thing you could have done, is if you had on your phone this like drawing of him and you were just like, I really like this episode. Look at this.
Yeah. That would have been funny.
It would have been funny. All right, Caleb. Who gets the Erica Ortegas Award for being most unlikable?
McGruber for sure.
Yeah, definitely
McGruber, yeah.
McGruber. Yeah, Yeah. We already touched on it. I don't want to beat a dead horse, so yeah. All right, who gets the Elizabeth Cutler Award for most forgettable?
It's got to be one of like his cronies. Probably the guy that
Is hitting Uhura.
Spock nerve pinches.
Oh, that guy. Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Loser.
Loser. It might be the same guy.
Could be. Also, the guy who gets the hypo spray looking in, like who decides to stare into the depression chamber, is also pretty
Forgot about that guy. Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think it's
Han
safe.
said to watch him very closely.
Very close.
Like almost like if you get your face right up to the window.
Right. These were all world leaders, by the way. These were all people who ran Dominion.
You can tell.
Yeah.
You can tell. Yeah.
Government at its best. So, who gets the Trip Tucker Award as being the MVP?
I'm going to say Spock.
Yeah.
Spock's the MVP in this episode.
Yeah, I think that's the one I was thinking about too. Like, really, at the end of the day, Spock is the one to be like, no, he's terrible. Why are we doing this? Like, he's already suspicious of the ship. Yeah.
Yeah, why are you guys like talking about him in this
yeah,
this way, and why are you letting him read the entire like computer thing? Why are you it's like it's all these questions, like I have the same questions.
Even though Spock doesn't do that, he does kind of get a little dig into Kirk when he's like he's able to shut everything down, and we're suffocating on the bridge because he learned a lot from those technical manuals. So,
good thing he gave him a little bit of light reading material. But he stays calm and he, holds up his thing. And then at the end, he nerve pinches the guy. So that's pretty good.
That's right. That's right.
I always like that.
The best one.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what gets the Shran Award as the best action sequence?
I do like Kirk and Khan's like fight scene.
Yeah.
As far as action.
Is there anything specific in that fight scene that you like, or?
I like when Kirk is hanging onto the mesh wall.
Choking him with his leg.
Yeah. Like, you may have super strength, but have you seen these thighs?
I'm going to pop out your eyes with these thighs.
No, you have not. And then McGruber shows up. She's like, I have.
Yeah.
I've seen them.
Look at my work.
I painted them.
I painted them. Look at them.
It's just...
All right, what gets the NX award for some sweet ship stuff?
The thing that I did enjoy is there's a close-up shot of Spock when he's working the science station.
Mm-hmm.
And you can really see that that wheel, I forget what they call it, that spinning thing that they use. He's turned in, he's talking to Kirk, and it's like behind his head, and it's just like meow, 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 like on the wall.
Yes. And
it's like the first time I remember seeing that like big on like the science display.
Got it.
What is that thing specifically called? I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't know what it's called either.
It's probably named after one of the prop guys, honestly.
Probably. So what gets the Porthos Award for being the cheesiest thing of the episode?
Oh, this is a good one. You mentioned his, like, when he wakes up, you mentioned Khan, like, uses, like, yoga.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Weird, like...
Yeah.
But the one that really made me laugh, right, is right before he opens the door.
Oh,
he does this very, very dramatic. Ooh. Ooh. I was like, okay, this is ridiculous.
He's summoning all
his
he's centering the strength in his body, right?
All of his cross-human DNA.
That's a good
Yeah, it
one.
was very dramatic and over the top, and I was just like, this is ridiculous.
Well, otherwise, how are you going to know what he's about to do? Can't
It's
just
true.
walk up to the door and open it. He's got to.
No, that would be too.
You got to show that he's more powerful than an average man.
Yeah,
By
yeah.
centering himself and breathing.
It's true. How else would you know?
How would you know?
So.
What gets the Enterprise Award finally for the best scene of the episode?
The best scene of the episode, I'll give it to McCoy when he says, "Just slit my artery, slit it,
just kill me,
just do it." Stop trying to hit me. Stop trying to hit me and hit me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
All right. So go down to the comment sections and write what you thought of the episode. Let us know your thoughts. Get down in there, write about it, talk about it. I want to see people say so many things about it. Next week's episode will be. Oh, they totally will. They totally will. Next week's episode is less of an episode of Kirk fighting something 10 times the strength of him. This episode is entitled The Devil in the Dark. So stick around for that. As always, if you enjoyed the video, like it. If you disliked it, dislike it. Share it with all your friends and family and Trek enthusiasts. Subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And ring that bell for notifications for when it comes out, typically on Sundays at 5.
Yeah.
But you do it.
Do it.
But just a couple days ago from this coming out, our other last week's episode, Arena, came out just a couple days ago. It was a little delayed. That just came out. And also, we have another return to our Star Trek RPG, so that's on the channel as well. Give it a watch. If you like Star Trek and you like things like Dungeons and Dragons or dice rolling or strategy, things like that, give it a watch. You'll enjoy it. I hope, at least. And then you can always go over to Caleb's channel. Caleb had very recently a very cool video dealing with another person taking on a maniacal world leader. He made an item from that universe in Marvel.
Wow, yeah.
So go find it on his channel. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I think once you find it, you'll click it and watch it.
Yeah. You'll see it.
But there is also another video on his channel that you should be watching. Somebody else straining and stretching and breaking out of something across their chest. Look for it. They mention him. They mention his type of people in this episode several times. They refer to them as
Superman. He's like, no, it wasn't. He was not Superman. He was not. He was a bad man.
Go watch that video. Watch him paint
a
Superman, a true Superman,
truly Superman. Yeah.
So, as always, thanks for watching. And computer, end this stupid program. See you guys.
Check for any messages. Oh, yes, there's a message here. Let's see. From the captain to all crew, please do the outro of the. Oh, okay, yes. Take time on my busy doctor schedule here to record a couple things. Oh, hello. Dr. Stephen House, Chief Medical Officer aboard the USS Drake. Just wanted to record a few reminders for you guys. So here we go. The Retrek Review is a Daystrom Holodeck podcast. It's produced in association with the Plastic Underground Props, hosted by Caleb Stoddard and Will Wilbur, edited by Will Wilbur. Our outro song is by Kaylee Joy Rookledge. Our theme song is by Samo Studios, and our outro song is by Tommy T. The title card art was created by Caleb Stoddard. Trophy art was created by Adri Wilbur from Love by the Letters. The synopsis and written plot provided by memoryalpha.fandom.com. Star Trek is created by Gene Roddenberry, and all official clips and pictures are owned by Paramount Pictures. You can follow us at the Plastic Underground Props and the Daystrom Holodeck on Instagram and YouTube. So that is it. That is all I had to say. And what? Lazesh, don't touch that.